Okay, there's a massive Reddit post, and unfortunately, Latigris is not on the good end of things. I get so frustrated with this stuff, and I have zero frustration with Latigris, none whatsoever. If you want to ask my personal opinion, I don't think she's a good caster. I'll just be completely honest with you guys. Well, we've never strayed away from being honest. What I do have a problem with is the constant flame that she has to put up with from the community. And look, I have no problem. Like, if you don't think she's a good caster, fine. That is totally fine. I I saw her tweet about something the other day, and on a totally unrelated note, she just gets a reply that says, "Stop casting, please. No one likes your casting." That is so cringe, and I'm so fed up with that. I don't think any caster should have to put up with that. And the other area that I'm really frustrated with is the LCS, who continues to put her out on the cast, which I don't think she's being set up for success. I just don't think that she is ready to be an LCS caster. And I have no problem whatsoever if there are people that say, you know what, I love her cast. No problem whatsoever. I just think there's a ton of people who really don't. And I think that it's been really, the community is incredibly vocal about this. And I think the longer you keep her in there, the more that she's going to have to get flamed from the community. And I just don't think that's fair to any caster.
Yeah, one thing I want to give a little bit of credit to I Will Dominate. I know he's normally the guy who is usually enthralled in all the hate and loves to give his opinion on a numerous amount of topics, more often than not, usually flaming. But I do want to credit him in the situation because I was watching a clip of his on his YouTube channel where he was discussing this whole situation where he was kind of reviewing the Latigris clip. And I think he was making a lot of fair, criticisms about it and, giving from what I can understand, a pretty healthy perspective relative to a lot of other stuff that he's saying about numerous different league topics. But I think the main thing that's important to note with play by play casting, you know, whether it's league or a different esport or a sport, the most important thing is communicating the relevant information. And I think for me, that was the biggest problem of what was going on with that whole, that clip of Latigris where yeah, sure, the game was kind of devolving into chaos and team fights were getting really sporadic and chaotic. But when that's going on, the job of the caster is to be able to communicate the key information from what's going on in the game to the audience. And I guess my biggest problem with the whole scenario is to me, it just feels like she doesn't do a great job at that. Obviously, everybody's going to point to the big mistake that she made where she thought that, Cloud9 killed the mountain dragon and made that as a vocal call. And then obviously when the drag wasn't dead, there was like this super awkward moment where like nothing was being said. But, for the most part, I just don't think she does the greatest job in communicating the relevant information to the audience. And for me, that's really my only problem with it.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. And it's so sad that we have to have this conversation over and over again because again, I just don't think she's being set up for success. Now I see someone in the live chat saying, I think it's a minority of trolls. I don't, honestly. I don't think that's the case. And I could be wrong, right? Maybe it is just the minority that thinks that. I don't know. I don't know, man. I think it's been quite some time now that a lot of people have been asking for her to be replaced. And look, this is nothing like I don't expect anyone to be to the level of Flowers, for example, right? Like no one expects that. But there does need to be a certain level that you have to be able to cast the LCS. I don't think it's there, quite personally. So that's the biggest issue I have with it. And I just I hate that the only way it seems for the LCS to listen is to have a bunch of people flame Latigris, and that just seems to be like we're coming to the conclusion in the wrong ways. I think that people at the LCS should be able to recognize that she's not ready for it.
I think the other thing that is important to note in this conversation is the departures that we had from the broadcast team from last year as opposed to this year. We lost two of the, play-by-play casters that have been a regular appearance on the LCS in Freak and Pastry Time. These are guys that have been synonymous within the LCS for what Freak has been here since the beginning of League, and I think Pastry Time has been in North America since season 5 or season 6 if I remember. So these are two casters who've been ingrained into the LCS and are within the LCS for the last 6+ years, and for them to suddenly be gone, I think the LCS is finding it a little bit difficult to bring back people who or sorry to acquire people who are at that level. Obviously nobody is going to be at the level of a proficient caster who's been casting the game for 10+ years, but we're seeing a lot of these newer faces within the LCS. And while it will take time for them to improve their casting and to get better, time is the only answer here. So, you know,
Yeah. It it feels dogpiley to have this conversation, but when there's a Reddit post that gets like 4 or 5,000 upvotes, I don't think we can ignore the elephant in the room anymore, and it sucks that we have to have this conversation.